Day, July 1st, 2024. Mayor Ostrowski, call the roll.
Ball.
Present.
Jensen.
Present.
Maroney.
Present.
Scott. And Zierden.
Present. All right, we'll rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can I get an approval or amendment of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go ahead and move on to open forum. If there's anyone here that would like to come up to discuss anything not on the agenda. All right. We will go ahead and move on. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead and move on to new business. Pines of Fawn Lake.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Attached for your review is the final plat of the Pines of Fawn Lake, application S2402. This request is to create 6 5-acre residential lots and one 27.86-acre residential lot. The preliminary plat was formally reviewed by the Planning Commission at the regular June meeting, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended the application to the City Council for final plat approval. Staff's recommendation with the recommendation of the Planning Commission and requested action is to approve the plat and findings as recommended by the Planning Commission on the June 11th, 2024 meeting. And if you have any questions about the application, please let me know.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any.
None.
Okay. Can I get a motion then to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the plat and findings as recommended by the Planning Commission on June 11th, 2024.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go ahead and move on to the counting the write-in votes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As part of the legislative session that just concluded at the end of May, there's a lot of changes to election law in the state of Minnesota that were made. One of those was regarding write-in votes and how they're counted right now. How it works for local elections is that every write-in vote must be counted. So at the end of the night, when the polls close and we're doing our closeout, we have to go in, get every ballot. The tape tells us how many ballots had write-ins, and we have to go get them. And then write down on a separate piece of paper every name that's in there. Most of the time it's Daffy Duck, it's Mickey Mouse, it's Ronald McDonald. But what they did is to kind of give cities a similar authority that the states, counties, and federal government have, is to allow them some discretion on how they approach write-ins. Pretty much you either can continue to do what we do now, write every count-in, or count every write-in. There we go, count every write-in. Or you can do what pretty much everyone else does, is that if there's a candidate who wishes to have their write-in votes counted, they must submit a written request with the chief election official for Breezy Point. It would be the city administrative clerk, so myself, no later than the 7th day before any municipal election. Or the other option is for write-in votes would only be counted if the total number of write-in votes for an office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes. So how I can put it is, if you've got two candidates, A and B, candidate A got 10 votes, candidate B got 5 votes, but there are 7 write-in votes. In that situation, because the write-ins are more than the lower of the non-write-ins, then they would be counted. In 2022, we had a number of write-ins. In total, we spent about an hour counting write-ins, so just give you an idea of what that process looks like at the end of the night. So if you were to choose, pretty much looking for discussion tonight, if you would choose, you can just select for Breezy Point. This is for Breezy Point offices only, how we want to do write-ins into the future. You would have to pass, if you want to change it from counting every vote, you'd have to pass a resolution. I have a draft resolution that is attached, and then indicating which option you would choose to do if you wanted to go away from the current practice. And staff's recommendation is that if you do that, go towards requiring an individual to file a written request with the city. But I will take any questions you may have. I will add, decisions around the area have kind of been split. Some cities opting to do what option A. I do want to clarify, in my memo, it references option A. That means option A in the memo, in the resolution. So option A in the resolution, not option A in the earlier in the memo. Just to clarify, I had that question come up. Some cities, it's kind of a split right now. I know Brainerd, I think one other city, I've stayed with counting every write-in vote. I think Cross Lake, and I think Lake Shore, I know Cross Lake for sure moved to having a written request. I believe Lake Shore was also looking at moving to written requests as well. So it's kind of split across the county. But this is something, there's a deadline to do this. So it would be, I think August would be the latest if the council wants to make a change. And so we just wanted to start having that conversation now. And what you would like to do for the November general election. There are no write-ins for the primary, so.
And again, this is just for the city council seats.
Correct, mayor and city council. The state already requires that state and county already require people that if you want your vote to be counted, you have to submit a written request.
What are your guys' thoughts? Anybody?
I don't have an issue going with the recommendation from the administrator and what the state already does, county.
Yeah, I'd second that option A, according to the resolution. It matches what the state does and just follow suit with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree too.
Yeah, I guess I don't have any strong feelings one way or another. Any sense as to the number of write-in candidates over the last 2 election cycles?
I'm trying to think of, to my knowledge, especially in the last, I can only speak to the last one I was here for in 2022. There was a lot of write-ins, but none of those people had actually organized campaigns. It was just names people wrote in. I don't think there wasn't a single write-in candidate that I think got more than 5 votes. Or write-in name, I should say. I don't know if I want to call him a candidate, but I don't think a single one got more than 5.
So the hour that you referenced then that it took staff,
There were
was
in total
from-
between the mayor and the council seats, I think there were over close to 100 write-ins that we had to locate the ballots and then write the ballots. They have to be dual authenticated to make sure we did it. Like, there's got to be 2 election judges from opposing parties that approved, like, yep, it was Daffy Duck, and he wrote down Daffy Duck on the piece of paper. So that's where that extra time comes in of having to get the ballots, write them down, multiple election judges confirming that was what was written on the ballot, and that was what written down on the piece of paper that's being recorded.
And I think to support that with the whole request is that anyone who is like campaigning for a write-in, or at least out there discussing it, they're going to at least know that that's what they're doing. So in order to have that kind of chance, I think that would be the best way to go about it. So, right, do we want to make a motion to?
So, so any motion, if you are looking to do that, would be to adopt the attached resolution that sounds like option A.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move on. We are moving through this quickly. Old business, CIP selection. Consultant selection.
Yes. Back in May, the council authorized the fielding of the CIP, the request for proposals for engineers to draft a streets CIP for the city. Those were due at the beginning of June. 4 firms did submit the proposals: Bolton Mink, Moore Engineering, Woodseth, and WSB. Those are just in alphabetical order. All 4 proposals are attached in the packet. Staff, we did look through each, and then we did provided a fee breakdown, going from most to least in there. I do want to make one amendment. Mr. Paul Sandy with WSB did reach out to me and let me know that I did have a error in the listed their base fee as $50,885. But he said the fee you have at WSB does not have the $9,000 cost in the base services for the sub-consultant data processing. So it should be $59,885. So WSB's is so $59,885 for their base, which then would bring their total to $110,551. So Mr. Sandy wanted to make sure that we had that correct information, so I thank him for that. Staff, we looked at it, myself, Assistant Administrator Ike, Public Works Supervisor Zierden, looked through all the proposals, had some discussions. Ultimately, I think we'd be comfortable with any of the 4. I think from just a value perspective, obviously Moore Engineering had the lowest proposed fee for both the base fee as well as the alternatives. I did note that their proposal is the only one that actually spoke to implementation. Obviously, implementation was not part of the proposal, but they did speak to kind of that next step. I did notice, however, that Moore had the latest completion date of anticipated of February 2025. I think everyone else was by the end of December. Woodseth had the second lowest fee for both, I guess now it would be for their base. So when you adjust for the WSB, they now are the second lowest for base as well as second lowest for alternatives. About a $17,000 difference between Moore and Woodseth if you look at totals, if you would accept the full package. One of the things I think does set Woodseth apart is they do have history working with the city. You know, they are currently the city's engineer. They're doing the Shoreview Lane project and the sewer plant. The city has yet to work with Moore. So ultimately, I think the city would be, staff would be comfortable with either of the 4 or any of the 4, but we were kind of at a wash between Woodseth and Moore. Again, Moore is a little bit cheaper. Woodseth has more of the history. So we're just looking for you to have council discussion on what the council feels and what direction you would like to go in selecting a consultant to do the street CIP.
Are these hard bids? So like
Yes.
this will not come in?
These are
okay.
all, I believe they're all I think they should be all not to exceed figures.
Initial thoughts, anybody?
So maybe just a clarification, I believe you mentioned WSB's number was actually higher.
Correct.
So is that reflected? I guess I didn't hone specifically in on that in the information in the packet. Is that?
Yeah, so I just got that Mr. Sandy just contacted me about 30 minutes ago. He was looking through and saw that on their base fee, I listed it as on the memo, $50,885. It should be $59,885. And then their total would be $110,551. So they would actually be the most expensive base fee and the second most expensive on the total, if you add the $9,000 for the base fee.
So that increased amount with the 9,000, that wasn't in their original submittal?
It's in their proposal. I missed it. So when I drafted this in the memo, when I put together that the fees comparison, I missed the 9,000.
Okay.
It's in their proposal though.
I guess of all the proposals, I liked Widseth. You know, they've worked with the city for many years. They've shown to be very competent. I think Nick and Dave have done a good job keeping us informed on the Shoreview Lane. I guess I'm comfortable with Widseth.
I kind of echo, Mr. Jensen, your comments there. Woodseth has been part of the city for a while. They know a little bit more history on where we sit with our goals and projections and where we wanted to go with everything. We've seen some examples that they've provided from neighboring communities that were simplified, easy to make sense of. And so I too myself liked Woodseth's proposal here.
Yeah, based on everything, I'm good with Widseth. I think that makes sense, based on the fee that they included and having worked with the city before.
Councilman Scott, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at the proposals, I mean, they were all responsive to what it was that the council or the city overall was looking for. You know, all firms have some level of similar experience, I think, in these areas. So from that standpoint, I'd be comfortable working with any one of them. It's probably not going to come to any surprise that, of course, I favor the one that's the least costly. I think certainly part of the role that I believe I have is to move forward and make decisions around addressing city needs that are thought through and well-reasoned and financially sound. I don't know that I could justify spending more than what we would with any other firm but more. I guess I didn't pick up on or notice that big of a difference throughout in the proposals. As has been mentioned, obviously experience, time working with the community probably speaks for something, but I would probably argue that there's a level of benefit that comes with having a company that we haven't used before, having a firm that comes in and is completely unfamiliar with the community, be a part of a very important plan being developed by way of our road infrastructure and potentially other elements as well. So I guess I would favor and lean more towards more as the lowest cost responder to the solicitation.
Yeah, I would have to mirror three of you said. Woodseth, especially with streets, like just knowing our streets, knowing our city, I would be comfortable with Woodseth as well. So with that being said, do we want to go ahead and make a motion?
I'll begin with the motion to, at least for discussion's sakes, to start the motion by approving Woodseth as the firm of choice to at least start with the base plan, and then we can have a discussion later on the add-alts that we've discussed about. So I'll make a motion for Woodseth for the base plan as of right now.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the Streets Committee.
Oh, Madam Mayor, I think there's a second
Oh,
part.
I'm sorry.
So we've moved forward and we accepted that Woodseth would be doing for the base fee, and this is the core project of what we've been asking for the capital improvement plan. In addition to the capital improvement plan, we've also asked for some sub-outlines, such as to look at the gravel streets. That came in at a bid at $44.66, if I can read that right. We've also asked for the potential of looking at our street sign 5-year replacement plan. That came in at $96.65, along with the GIS portion of that of $2,500. And then we've also asked to look at the sanitary system CIP, as well as the televising plan, which videos the sewer plant, and then also a storm sewer. These are all items that we talked about, that if the consultant is here and performing these duties, to look at those items. One of the things that I did ask Administrator Chansky is in regards to the sanitary sewer system. Again, if we're looking at the road and when it needs to be replaced, is when do we want to replace that? I did ask if those fees, which again was $12,000 and $4,000 for the televising plan, is if those would be paid out of the sewer enterprise fund, which I was told yes.
Yes, we could pay those out of the sewer enterprise fund.
So I guess beyond the base plan, I think it's just up there for discussion amongst the five of us of if we want to continue looking at those gravel streets, the signs, the sewer, and the storm sewer.
I think based on the pricing, it makes sense to proceed with that now and not put it off till later. So I think it fits in well, so. Minimal cost, I think, relative to what you get.
To clarify, you're saying do it all?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, I would also agree.
One of the things that in my mind I've always thought about is, could we have asked for, if you didn't do it now, what would the fee be later? There's always that deployment cost that they can kill multiple birds with one stone, right? So as they're driving through, they can perform all these. I think these are things that the city would benefit from greatly in the future if we don't have these things documented. And so I too am in favor of looking at all of these items, making note that those sanitary sewer items to be paid out of the sewer enterprise fund.
Now, your reference to the gravel roads, that's not including the minimum maintenance.
That would be
Mr. Reese, do you want to answer that question?
Leave
Your
it.
proposal? You want to, is the mic's on, I think, yeah.
When we looked at the RFP, we looked at gravel roads as being your gravel roads. Okay, so taking a look at all of them. And we've done some of that work already, looking at some of the gravel condition. But minimum maintenance, that's just carried under a different maintenance code or level. So that's going to be evaluated on its own.
Okay.
How does that typically move forward? I know that there's, from a land development standpoint, does that typically fall solely on the developer? Or how do you typically develop?
To bring a minimum maintenance road
To
into
a-
the
yeah.
city system as a public street, that's usually done by a petition by the residents along the street for improvement to bring it up to city standards.
Is that 70% similar to the paving?
That's based off of our minimum maintenance road policy. Joe, I can't remember if it's right now. I think it's 70 or 70. It's high. Ours is higher than,
I believe 75%
ours is
petition.
higher.
And if it's a 75% petition, then they cover 100% of that cost?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Dave, I have a question on the televising. That is just to come up with a plan. That is not to actually
Correct.
do the work. And
Right.
that's a substantial number.
Yes, Woodseth and most consultants do not have the equipment to televise. Actually, that's specialized service that televising and cleaning firms will do. So you're correct, putting together a plan that helps evaluate your current conditions, and that would be assisting the city with getting competitive quotes on that work.
Any other questions?
I just want to say it sounds like a very important distinction, and I think, to me, additional factors that always need to be considered into the cost of what we're doing and we're getting as a result. I appreciate that difference being mentioned.
Anybody else? All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll I'll make a motion to approve the ad alts at all of them with the distinction that the sanitary sewer portions be paid out of that sewer capital enterprise fund.
Second?
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we will move on to the Streets Committee.
Yes, Madam Mayor, so this is just as was discussed at the June 17 workshop. We discussed creating a streets committee, starting as an ad hoc committee to support and kind of be your working group as we go through, and I would be working with staff in Widseth as we develop the street CIP. Attached is the resolution as was discussed at the workshop on June 17. This would create the committee. We then immediately begin advertising with the committee with the intention of having hopefully a list of names to bring back for council approval and appointment to that committee at the August council meeting.
What is the deadline for submission for?
If approved tonight, we would likely say we'd probably go Friday, July 26th.
Okay.
So that'd give about 3 weeks.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to add?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Make a motion to adopt the attached resolution establishing the ad hoc streets committee.
Second.
All right, any other discussion?
Nothing other than to say that I think we missed an opportunity tonight with the council voting in favor of creating this committee. Just had solicited for a streets improvement plan along with other capital improvements, and if this is going to be a group to advise the council and make recommendations and help to establish how we're going to approach any number of these, it kind of feels to me like it would have been a good idea to have their review, their input, their thoughts on, you know, the very plan that, in my mind, was very quickly acted on tonight without a whole lot of conversation.
Anybody else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to the community center due diligence work plan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So coming out of the workshop on June 17th, the council asked the staff to put together a proposed work plan for you to consider, potentially act on regarding due diligence. Based off of the discussion that was had, this is kind of, again, from what I got from it, would be to have staff conduct a due diligence on the development of a potential community center. Would be including engaging with neighboring communities to assess the interest in participating in a potential community center project, doing the investigation of the feasibility of the Landis Gear property, developing cost estimates for operation of a city-operated community center, and then researching potential outside funding opportunities and partnerships to support the construction and operation of a community center. In addition to that, one item that came out of the discussion was to create a recreational amenities directory, looking at, essentially we would look at surrounding areas and what is already available. There's a discussion that maybe a lot of people don't know what's already available. You'd say you kind of wanted that, obviously, it's together but separate from the work plan. So that's mentioned in here. Recreational amenities directory, we don't think that would take a lot of extensive time to be able to put that together. That'd be something, we'd put that directory together, have you approve it. Then once you approve it, we'd put it we'd create a page on our website and link it to the website. I think we could have that by your September 3rd council meeting. That doesn't seem like a problem to be able to do something like that. Regarding the due diligence in the plan above, that's a little more, actually not more, a lot more in depth. It's going to take more extensive time. And considering the projects that we already have underway, especially with budget knocking at the door, that is something that I don't know if we'd be able to get completed until about the end of the year. So just with everything else, street CIP, zoning is getting going, budget. So that's what we're looking at on that. So at this point, we're just looking direction on executing any comments on the draft work plan, if it's something you want to move forward with, as well as the development of a recreational amenities directory.
Right.
Based on discussion at the workshop, I think we can proceed first with this separate action item for the recreational amenities directory. So I'll make a motion to direct staff to develop a recreational amenities directory.
Second.
All right, any other discussion?
I think it's a great idea that came out of that workshop, and what I'd ask is that we kind of clarify and hone in on what that area looks like, and I'm thinking like a 15-mile radius from city center here, you know, going down to Nisswa, up to Cross Lake, over to Mission, over to Pequot Lakes, and getting that directory together. I think it's a great thing to be able to have on our website for people who are new or existing to the area of what's available to our residents that live in or around Breezy Point.
I agree. All right, anybody else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we'll go ahead and talk about then the due diligence. First, I just want to say I'm fine with it being the end of the year. I do know, like, I was at the League of Minnesota Cities conference last week, and community center was actually brought up by almost every mayor and council that I spoke to. So this is something that is not new or unique to us. The one thing that I did talk a lot about, especially with North St. Paul, they just had $5 million in bonding, state bonding that they got for their community center. And so I think that by allowing us to finally do the due diligence for these things, especially with knowing that many other cities have gotten that kind of bonding, it could potentially put us in a position in the future, should we want to pursue that. I think that that would be a great resource addition to the finances of it. The other thing about the due diligence is just the timing, given the fact that there are two different people waiting kind of to see if Breezy is interested in a partnership, and if we don't do the due diligence, then we may miss the boat on what that could look like. So I think that just getting this out of the way, we will be able to then safely move forward and say that we have looked into all options and we understand our numbers, which I think is going to be the best way forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense to at least move forward with the due diligence and just see where that leaves us after it's been done. And I'm fine with the timeline as well, with the other priorities.
I would agree, at least answering these 4 questions that we have in front of us, and continuing to reach out to our neighboring communities to see if there is any general interest. Just knowing that answer will help gear some items. But again, in my opinion, and just how staff laid out, this is a low priority. So if it's not back in front of us till November, December, this is a low priority item, action item from my aspect.
Correct. Anybody else?
I am curious, it does mention that the due diligence will not require the expenditure of funds, but shall include. So are we not looking at our staff's time as an expenditure of funds? I guess I'm concerned with the extent of time that staff's going to have to spend on this. The administrator already alluded to the fact of having enough going on. He wouldn't be able to get to this till the end of the calendar year. I look at our staff's time as being absolutely invaluable. It's every bit of what provides a good share of the services that the community has to offer to its residents. So I would just like some clarification or understanding as to what that means, that proceeding with this is not going to require the expenditure of funds.
I can answer that, Councilman Scott. I think specifically what I was referring to would be additional funds being expended to, bring in a consultant or have an outside party do anything. Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, we are paid with taxpayer dollars and it is our time, so taxpayers would be paying us to do that. But what I was alluding to would be funds on some kind of outside entity or doing something additional outside of staff time. So I should have clarified that.
Well, and once again, I want to seize the opportunity to just make sure that it's abundantly clear. I think this is an utter and absolute waste of time. We're not in North St. Paul, nor is there any interest in becoming in North St. Paul, if you truly care to understand your community. This due diligence has been going on for months, and I really would like to understand how this and its work plan is different than any of the discussions that have been brought up time and again over a community center. And like I anticipated, I know I'm not going to get any response.
Well, I'd go, how it's different is I don't think we've engaged with neighboring communities. I mean, that's like the first bullet point in asking NISWA if they wanted to do a joint partnership or Pequot. I don't think we've had those discussions yet. Have we?
I don't know. I mean, this is something that I've heard has been, kicked around and supported for ever and a day. I would have thought at some point in time in the stops in certain processes that those conversations and that exploration probably would have been done. Obviously, I've only been involved with the council to the extent that I have, so I don't claim to have the full history.
Regrettably, no. It has been brought up at different comp plans over the last 9-10 years that I've been involved. Kind of goes back to like Bushman Road. We knew that it needed to be improved upon, but we never put any budget aside. We've always talked about something, but we've never executed that something for that further discussion. We have done the community center, that feasibility study a while back ago that we had general interest, but never reached out outside of the community of, is there other communities that want to partner with us? Maybe Cross Lake will have a program that we can do a joint venture and they're looking at doing XYZ, but they didn't want on their property. Maybe Pequot wants. We'd have never had those discussions, and that's why this kind of came up of it is, well, let's ask the question, because otherwise if we're going to go 10 years down the road and say, well, we've had the due diligence in front of us so many times in the 2024 era, why didn't we do anything? Well, now we can answer, well, we did do something. We asked these 4 questions that we're asking staff to look into and be able to answer that question.
And I think, every city is unique and no city should try to be like another city. But I will say that through my experience of talking to and reaching out to other communities, everybody faces the same types of challenges, whether that is with streets, a community center, housing, childcare, safety. Everyone is really trying to work towards, making their city great, however that may be, but they all face the same challenges. And the benefit of going out and networking and talking to these other cities is that you can learn from maybe their mistakes and their successes. And so I think just kind of to what your point was about, no, we're not trying to be in North St. Paul, but I do think that it is great to get feedback and why they voted the way they voted and what resources they used. Public-private partnerships were brought up a lot in the 3-day conference. I would highly recommend doing it next year. It's actually very valuable. A lot of breakout sessions talking about cannabis, talking about energy efficiency, talking about, lots of different things that, do affect our cities every day. So my comment was just that I do love to go and reach out to other cities and network so that I have a better understanding and bring those resources back to the city. So we are very unique and we'll be Breezy Point, and no, we are not going to try, in my opinion, to be like any other city.
So for knowing there'll probably be further discussion, or maybe not, I'm going to make a motion to direct staff to execute the draft community center due diligence work plan, knowing the timeline will be later at the end of this year.
I will second that.
All right. Any last discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to staff reports.
Man, we've got 4 things tonight. First, Thursday is Independence Day, so city offices will be closed. We are open on Wednesday and Friday, though, but just Thursday we will be closed. The July version of the Breezy Brief e-newsletter will be going out this week. And then the quarterly bulletin, so this will be the quarter 2 bulletin. We're just putting the finishing touches on that, and then this week that'll be going to Lakes Printing for printing and then mailing. So people should have that the next week or two as well in their mailboxes. And then just two things regarding elections. The first is that in-person early voting and absentee voting for the state primary that will be conducted on August 13th has begun. For anyone that's interested in doing in-person early voting or absentee voting. For in-person early voting, that's being done at the Crow Wing County Courthouse in Brainerd. If you want to get an absentee ballot, the Crow Wing County Elections Office also manages that. So either you can go down to the county courthouse, you can call them at 218-824-1301, or email them at elections@crowwing.gov, and they will, applications are also on their website, crowwing.gov, or you could also go to the Secretary of State's, Minnesota Secretary of State's website, and get an absentee ballot application from there as well. The other thing regarding elections is that today I did post the notice of filings for for elected office here in Breezy Point. So that'll be the mayor and 2 council seats. So that notice per statute's been published. That'll be published by the 16th. We got it out early. It will be in the Echo this Wednesday, and then the 10th and this Wednesday, the 17th, and the 31st. So we're going to have that out there 3 times. It's on our website. It's on the bulletin board as well. Filing period is from July 30th, Tuesday, July 30th, until Tuesday, August 13th at 5 p.m. Does anyone else have anything? That's all we have.
So we did attend the conference together, so I would love to have you share kind of what you learned and what you got out of it.
Oh, absolutely. So for those unaware, myself and Mayor Zierden had the opportunity to attend the annual League of Minnesota Cities Conference. It's held the end of June every year. This year it was held in Rochester. They tend to go back from Rochester and Duluth. And this year they had about 550 attendees, I think it said, representing about 135-ish cities all over the state. I think the smallest city that was represented, I heard from, was under 100. And then you had cities all the way up to, I think, Bloomington represented as well. I think Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester all had representation there as well. And just a good opportunity, for me, just networking with colleagues, getting to attend some good sessions. They had sessions from, let's see, the one I unfortunately did not get to attend because I had a meeting, was on cannabis, so I am bummed I didn't get to attend that one because that's a discussion that we're going to be having here in the next month or so. But just a good opportunity, everything from onboarding new elected officials to housing to conflict management, an array of different sessions taught by lots of different, administrators, mayors, members of the league, attorneys. Just a great opportunity as it is every year. Madam Mayor, anything you want to take away?
Yeah, and like I alluded to, I think that if anyone gets a chance ever to go, I would highly recommend it. Great learning experience. I think that it gives you a really good perspective, just kind of what everyone else, just hearing about their experiences and learning about just new things coming in. I mean, I think we had some people from the Treasury that flew in to talk about some of the energy credits that are in the form of an actual rebate check and not just a rebate. So there's some really good opportunities if you are building in the cities to get money back. So there's just a lot of things, a lot of resources. So I actually was planning on putting something together. I have a lot of the information from some of the breakout sessions and then also from some of the speakers that I was going to share with you all in an email, just so you can kind of see some of the things that was presented. But otherwise, yeah, great experience overall. Does anyone else have anything? No? All right, so move on to the agenda forecast.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So for July, as we discussed at the workshop on the 17th, generally we've been holding workshops. We've had a number of topics. Obviously, the council, we discussed every month. We determine if we need one or not. We do have a number of items that we'd like to discuss in July. I am recommending that we actually notice the meeting as a true special meeting and not just a workshop. The reason being is regarding the city hall. At that point, we should be having a formal bid and giving you the opportunity to make a decision on that for timeline purposes, if you so choose. So the topics right now for that meeting would be the City Hall and Mansion expansion project bid opening and potential approval. Bushman Road, that was something, we last heard from WSB, that was in April, and we discussed them coming back in July with that update, and then having that discussion about whether or not to move into final design. And then the last thing we've been working on draft equipment capital improvement plan. So the goal would be to present that. I think I got the bones of it put together. Now I'm just gonna be working with the staff to getting all the departments different things into that. So presenting that, getting your feedback, working you through how that equipment capital improvement plan works. So those are the 3 items. In the packet, we did recommend July 15th through 19th. That's been our normal 3rd week. Since July does have 5 Mondays, we effectively have 5 weeks in July. With High Tech, we spoke with High Tech last week about where they were at with the bid. Due to it being in the middle of the building season, their quotes are coming in from their subs a little slower than anticipated. So they did request that if we could do the workshop the week of the 22nd, that would just give them another week to really hone their bid and finalize their numbers. So that would be that week of July 22nd. But obviously, it's always up to council what your availability is and what you would like to do.
I'm open the week of the 15th or the 22nd. Quiet month, I think, for me.
23rd is more out for me, but I could certainly accommodate the 22nd, 24th, or 25th.
I can't do the 24th.
So the 22nd, 25th.
Either one's fine by me.
And the 24th, that week is the only day I'm available.
What about the 15th or the 19th? Could they still have it?
I think if it was potentially, I think they'd prefer later that week, if you could do later that week.
Later.
But they'll do what they have to do. Now,
Councilman
Lindsay, you've
Scott,
been working with High Tech, if there's anything you want to update the council on, but otherwise.
Nothing really to update.
Councilman Scott, 17th and the 19th, are you available? Either of those 3?
18th?
The 18th. How does that look for anybody else?
I could make the 18th work.
The 19th, or you said the 18th?
18th,
okay.
the Thursday.
19th will not work for me.
I could
but
do
18th.
that.
Thursday, the 18th.
I could do the 18th.
We can all do the 18th, Thursday the
Confirm
18th.
Councilmember Jensen.
That's fine.
Okay, 18th, 6 p.m. as usual.
Yeah, I will say I'm not, I guess particularly on board with it being a special council meeting. In large part because in the communication so far in this way, it's been indicated to the community that this was going to continue moving forward with more discussion at a workshop to be brought to the, I believe it was mentioned, the August regular council meeting. So I'm just a little concerned about the change in plans, words not getting out, people not being aware. And all of a sudden we potentially have a decision that could be made at a second council meeting this month.
I am in favor of a special council meeting because there have been times where we've could have made decisions at workshops that we didn't necessarily need to put it on the agenda for the next council meeting, which kind of just draws out our council meetings even longer. So I think that we changed this because if we feel comfortable making a decision, and if a majority of council feels comfortable voting, then we have the ability to do that. It's not saying that we will do that, but we're already meeting, we're already discussing, and I think that it'll just help us move through the process, should we want to make a decision. I think it would just help float things along.
Well, the only reason for this special meeting is just for this particular project for the city hall, correct? In the event we wanted to move forward with that and the timing?
In this situation, it would be, that one's the main one. But with Bushman Road, we've had the proposal before you as well. So if you were ready at that point, you could also move forward with final design of Bushman Road at that meeting as well if you wanted to. The draft and capital improvement plan will not require any necessarily action. We're just getting feedback and walking you through it at this point.
They're basically the same thing. It's just more of a formality of.
Yeah.
in-
From a technical perspective, per state statute, there is regular meeting and there is special meeting. Where it comes down to is pretty much cities. I actually heard a session I attended, the city administrator from St. Peter put it very well about workshops. It's the understood, the social contract of workshops, we don't take action. There's nothing legally restricting you from acting at a workshop. It is more that social contract between the council and the public that if we present it as a workshop, we promise we won't take any action. Versus what we are saying here, by presenting it as a special meeting, it's clear that the council has the ability to will take action if they so choose.
And if they want to come, then they can come.
So high tech is the driving force behind this? I mean, they want a yay or nay due to construction, or is it
That's the
staff?
ideal, yeah. Just that timeline of getting that close of yay or nay.
We don't have to, no.
Yeah, you don't have
But
to.
we can
If the
decide
council- if
to.
At that time, you say you want more time to think about it, put it on the August
Fifth.
6th, 5th agenda, we would do that too.
The issue is if we don't break ground this year, let's just say we decide, then it's next year, and then our bid could be
It pretty much comes
higher.
down to is if at that meeting, one way or another, you all have the same feeling one way or another, you don't have to put it off 2 weeks if you're all kind of on the same page of what needs to be done, so.
I mean, we've had special meetings before, so I'm not comfortable with saying this is a special meeting. I mean, it's gonna be noticed and that happens. We've had special meetings, and that's what they're for. These sort of circumstances where timing is more critical.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it noticing that it's a special meeting. We've noticed it before and we've had multiple people come and listen and again, we can table the decision until the August 5th meeting if deemed that we don't have the information and move forward with it. If everything looks good, we can always move forward too. So, I'm fine with it being noticed as a special meeting and allowing that action to happen if so choosing.
I do have a question for High Tech, actually. At the last council meeting, or the workshop, I had mentioned if they could put something together that would show cost difference of what if we did not make a decision in time this year, if they would know
I did
projections.
ask them that. They're not going to know now what will happen if you wait till January. I think what I heard from them is you're weighing two things. If you wait till January, and I don't want to necessarily put words in Andy's mouth, he'll be able to speak to it more on the 18th. But you're kind of balancing it might be a better bidding window, but then you're also dealing with 2025 numbers, people getting raises. So it's kind of those balancing of how do those two things land. I don't know if I don't want to speak to him exactly whether the city would save money or not.
But he's going to talk about it.
Yeah, he can
Okay,
address it.
perfect.
I already kind of teed him up that question will be asked.
Okay, perfect. That's all I wanted to know. Okay, do I have a motion to?
Yeah, we can do that. Probably good, especially as it be a special meeting, I think a motion would be appropriate.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of a special meeting on Thursday, July 18th at 6 PM at City Hall.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, record time under an hour for the first time. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.